God.
Alright, well, just go live.
We're just live. We're just live. Hey everybody! Welcome to Massive Chalice Teamstream number 8. Thanks for joining us. I'll be your host, Brad Muir, project lead of this fine video game that we're making here at Double Fine. With me, as always, Anthony Vaughn on the wheels of steel. I also have John Burnhelm, lead designer of Massive Chalice. And also joining us is Derek Brand, concept artist for Massive Chalice. How's it going, Derek?
Good.
I feel like I just turned it into a talk show all of a sudden.
Yes.
Would you want to plug your new movie?
Oh, yeah.
Your new deal? Yeah? What's it called?
You should read his book. It's excellent.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be great. We're looking forward to that. So, hey, I actually don't have... Yeah, happy Friday. I made salsa for you guys. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, Brad kind of
But I just whipped
this out.
I just whipped up a bowl of salsa for this thing.
It's delicious, by the way.
Yeah, my future mother-in-law, she gave me a bunch of tomatoes, and I didn't know what to do with them, so I made...
Wait, so you made this salsa?
I made this salsa.
Oh, it's
this
delicious.
is salsa
It's
that
good.
I created with mine own hands. And so, mother-in-law shout out. Thanks, Becky, for the tomatoes. I think they're pretty good. So, I don't have any pictures. I didn't go on vacation for once.
I know.
So
Yeah, you're breaking the trend, man.
I've been working for 2 weeks straight, so that's a thing. Yeah,
Good
cool.
jobs.
So I don't have any pictures to show or anything. So I think we're just gonna jump right into our stuff. But don't go over here yet, Paul Levering, because did you already go over here? Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna stall. This is called stalling. I'm just stalling because I forgot to bring up this.
This is what happens when you don't go on
directory.
vacation. Now we don't have any fillers.
I know, right? Yeah. There it is. Sorry. I got to get to the Teamstream folder. I did prep these things, but then I forgot. Okay, cool. I thought we would go over some awesome things that are happening. Okay, we're ready now. Awesome. Yeah? Okay. We're going to cut over to this. We have some new concept art that we'd like to show you.
Bam!
And this was, we have a couple sheets of weapon exploration for the four definitive classes of the game. I think that we're probably just going to have 4. The 5th one, we sort of had a hard time coming up with something. I think there are lots of awesome ideas. Thanks to everybody on the forums who, had good suggestions about stuff. No, Alchemist. John just told me about an Alchemist. Taking the Falconer and the Alchemist together and having an owl that delivers his potions for him. All sorts of crazy stuff.
So it's not about not having ideas. It's really more about picking the core ones that we're gonna go with.
Yeah, just really trying to focus our
there.
development time, and it feels like 4 will be enough. But we're not going to know that until we start really prototyping the game up anyway.
Yep.
Hopefully 4 plus all of the hybrids. It allows us to do more hybrids because with 4 classes we have 12 hybrids that are unique, that could be unique, because we can have the Alchemist Vanguard and the Vanguard Alchemist, and those can be kind of different specs, different characters, and how they're treated in the game. So we can actually have the 4 core pure classes and then the 12 hybrids, and that's kind of a lot of work, so I think we're just going to keep it to that. But Derek, do you want to talk about some of these new swords for the Vanguard? So 2 competing ideas here. Tuning Fork Sword and Whistle Sword.
Yeah.
And this was an exploration of could we put those together? What do they look like if we just go with one of them?
Mm-hmm.
So these first ones are very much just trying to investigate the Tuning Fork Sword concept.
Yeah, and trying to avoid the sci-fi look, which is a big challenge with that split fork thing.
Totally, because that's and then those angles, the real sharp angles on it, make it kind of automatically look like a futuristic sword, which is bad because we don't want them to look like a sci-fi dude or lady running around cutting guys with it.
Which actually turns out it's kind of a challenge with the whistle swords too, the circles and stuff
this one here, and of course this was the one that Jeff modeled to be our temporary sword. You'll see it in the build later, but it's kind of the most. Someone already pointed out in the forums that it is the most phallic sword out of all of these things. And that's great. I'm glad that we went with that one. Awesome.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too because the whole hole with a line, it does remind me of Halo or Marathon. But I like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's you know what? I didn't even put that together. That has a very the elites. Also, Elite,
Jedi
that's like their
Knights too,
name.
like that.
That's so bizarre. Those the dudes in Halo that turn invisible and run around. They have the predator jaws. They're just called elites. That's like the name of their race or something. I think someone's correcting me in the chat already, right? You know,
if you read the third novel,
I'm like, what? Okay, so maybe someone can enlighten me on like why they're called elites, but
because video games.
Because video games, yeah. That would be awesome.
Can I just say that I was voting for A14 because he is the most scared sword.
This
as he comes in.
this one is totally badass because
It is sweet.
It's got like a lot of different. I don't know. It feels more like a cleaver, and it actually looks like a face that's frowning.
I didn't notice that, but that's awesome.
Yeah,
I just saw it.
I can see it.
And it can also open giant bottles.
Massive
If you
bottles?
have any massive bottles that you need opening, it can totally do that.
Spoiler.
There was also like the whole jangly concept in here,
Oh yeah.
where like these rings through the holes in the sword for the whistle swords, it gives them sort of a piratey, jangly kind of thing. Not so sure about that one though. The one that we liked, I think, out of the whistle swords were like A7 here, the one that has like these different shaped holes that it feels kind of musical, I guess.
Yeah,
but not like a bard. Not like a bard, but it feels like it could emanate tones when you slash it around, and that's kind of rad. I still think that most people are down with Tuning Fork Sword, and we're gonna do some more exploration. Overall, it feels like the Vanguard is the least fleshed out of the characters that we have right now. So we're gonna keep doing some thinking about that.
It's definitely interesting too when you taking it into the game, like with the test sword, what reads and what doesn't. And I think like just seeing that the latest like temporary thing could change things quite a bit, like in terms of like proportions.
Yeah,
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And it does feel like it has to be on the bigger side, right?
Yeah.
It has to probably be more like a two-handed sword or like a bastard sword, so that you can see what it is. You know, if it's like a thin, I guess sort of something like this, like these thin blades.
Read that at all.
Yeah.
It's not going to really read from the far out top down thing. I like A15 though. That's just, I don't know. It's just
sweet.
big. It's probably just because it's scaled up. I like it. That's a trick in the future. If you want me to like something,
You just make it bigger.
just make it a little bit bigger. And
My eye is drawn to it.
so the next one, we have some new crossbow concepts for the Arbalist, and so this came
these are all
from
side views, right?
Yeah, these are all
Yeah.
side views. So the concept here, we kind of sat around and we were looking at all the classes, and we were like, yeah, you know what? Like, Arbalist is kind of just dude with a crossbow. So like, what can we do to like kind of mix it up and try to make it our own unique thing? And somebody had the idea. I can't remember whose idea this was. It was a collaborative idea. Was that what if it was a bazooka?
Where you fired it like a bazooka.
You fired it like a bazooka or an
the
RPG.
shoulder.
At that moment, Brad looked off into the distance
and then I was
glint
like,
in his eye.
oh my god, like we have to do that. That's amazing. So all of these are intended. They have like shoulder notches in them, and you can imagine, especially the ones that have like the firing mechanism on the top, sort of like an RPG or a bazooka. I think it's going to be really awesome to see this guy sort of like taking one knee and like aiming and then shooting like from that. I think it'll be so amazing. So I'm really stoked to see this. Also, it makes the crossbow bigger, easier to read from the top down. You'll be able to pick them out. And then we had some ideas of like should the bow be straight up and down, like a regular bow, the bow part of the crossbow, straight up and down, or should it be more like a traditional crossbow in this one, or should it have both?
What?
Like this guy over here. So like there are a bunch of like different ways that we can experiment with this concept. There's also this one has this B1 and B4 both have the thing. Somebody posted on the forums, and you had found it as well. There's like a tournament crossbow that has a much longer front.
Yeah.
It almost has like a barrel. It has like a longer track for the arrow to go at, and that's like kind of a cool extra thing. We talked about sort of either an RPG mixed with a sniper rifle, just to make the thing longer and meaner and bigger. And like I think this is going in a like super solid direction, and I am stoked to see the Arbalist run around with like a huge RPG bow.
On B4, that was an awesome idea of Jeff's, where that big lever is to cock it, so you like set it down and then like crack it.
Yeah.
And
I love the
flip it
big
up. I thought that was
mechanisms
awesome.
here. that are on these, like the big cranks to like get them back. And I think that's really cool too for the leverage on that. That's
Some people
awesome.
thought the B7 might have a pizza cutter attachment, but I think it's better as a crank.
No, that's, I mean, just in case
It
you have to order
slices
a...
and dices.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or if one of the demons is a pizza.
Spoilers, Brad. Spoilers.
I guess it would be, let's see, it would be
Pizza
a
Hut.
moldy pizza, right?
Oh.
Right? Yeah.
But when it's young,
okay.
it's just the constituent
The
part.
thing is that
Yeah.
these don't look. I mean, so the idea for the Arbalist is not to give him a dedicated melee attack. Like you'll be able to shoot, from one square away, but to save us on some animation budget and also to make him feel different than the melee classes, like just really make his weapon feel like it is about. You can point blank someone with this thing, but you're not going to be trying to club somebody with it or stab them with it. And I think all these read really well for that as well. So.
You guys
Differentiation.
You should get some of this salsa. This salsa is good. Okay.
I think you nailed it, man.
Moving along. Caberjack. So this is a variation of this, and I believe that we were getting a little too techie with his weapons. There we go, perfect. And so the kind of direction was like, let's stay away from the techie stuff. Let's make it feel a little bit more old school, medieval. And also try to give them a business end wherever possible. Have one part look like the battering ram part, while the other part is not, I guess. And I really like the fist one. The original concept you had two fists, one on each side, and it just looked kind of corny. But now this revision of it, I think it's awesome. Also, spoilers. I think that this is going to become a demon weapon, and this will be the time fist. The time fist will actually be a caber that you ram guys with, and then they will get time fisted into oblivion. But they'll come back. Don't worry. It's
So you never know if it's a real spoiler. But John, he's not saying anything right now, so it could be legit.
it's totally
we'll
legit.
see.
It's happening. So I expect to see this one in like a cool, weird demon fashion. I also really like this ram's head one. This is super cool. Like it's awesome. And this has always been my kind of favorite for the caber. The one that has like the crenellation. It's like a stone crenellated kind of. It's like a meat tenderizer on the end of a
it'll
thing.
crack some nuts.
It's super cool. I like that one. Also, this one on the end, I think that this one sort of needs that business end treatment, but I like this kind of like fluted column, whatever. Or it almost looks like the head of a mace, like those flanged maces. I believe that. I love that. Man, I wish Jeff was in here. We could really nerd out about.
He's in the chat.
Medieval
He's
weaponry.
going-
Yeah, tell him. Ask him if he appreciates flanged maces. I know that he does. He's totally a man who appreciates flanged mace. That's what I like about him. But these are going in a great direction. Like I'm super happy. This one has, this is the only one of the new set that has the warp core on it. It looks like it's got that that kind of like it looks like a giant fuse. Like you would put this into your into your space station to keep it running or something. I don't know.
DF Jeff says they puncture armor well and break bones.
Yeah,
so he likes them.
Flange
There you
mace.
go.
Thumbs up to flange mace. Okay, cool. So super stoked on the Caberjack. I feel like he is probably our most solid class, just in terms of like how we're going to implement him on the battlefield
and weight.
and the unique kind of like stance, animations, weaponry. Like we're super stoked on him, so that's great. The Alchemist is the last one. So this was the one that we picked out of all the original ideas for how this guy could wield his weaponry. Really liked kind of holding the offhand grenade and the grenade cluster grenades.
Yeah, being kind of on the outside, like maybe he has a shielded area that can protect him from any blowback, but then they're on the outside of that.
Yep, and then this like
pretty sweet.
the kind of hooked highlight glove looking thing seemed to be the best. But we wanted to explore a bunch of the other ideas as well, and it just seems like these first two, like trying to do a lacrosse stick, is just like not gonna work. Yeah. Either it looks too much like a piece of sports equipment, or it looks like a piece of sports equipment with a blade on it, or it's just never gonna quite get there. This was an interesting concept. I don't think it super works, but this is actually a thing that you found, Derek, right? What is this?
It's a thing that exists.
It's like a
I
stick
forget-
sling or
yeah,
what?
I forget what they call
staff
it. Staff
sling?
sling. That's
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
And you showed me like I don't know if there were videos of dudes using them.
There's videos of people using them.
Very poorly,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it can like hold a pretty solid rock, right? Like I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like you're slinging a little tiny stone with it. It's like you're slinging an effing rock with the thing, and it I don't know, like it's kind of cool, but it does look like a stick with a little piece of cloth on it, you know, like ultimately.
Not very badass looking.
And then with these more like pure highlight looking things, they're looking a little bit too much like sports equipment again, where it's like, it's just a basket. And then this guy, it's like, now we're starting to get into like the region of, actually, crap, I remember this now. We talked about this and how having the basket track flinging kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this crazy thing that I did when I was a kid. I don't know if this exists anymore, but it's called whirly ball. I wish that we could like jump to a little picture of it because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, we did that in elementary school.
Yeah, so whirly ball, if people are not familiar with whirly ball, it is a thing that you do in bumper cars. So it's like 6-on-6 in a little arena, and everybody has this like weird it's like a basket scoop flinger, I guess. Oh, Paul, are you actually wow, Paul is going to show everyone at home a picture of whirly ball, and you're going to be like, what? So you have this weird scoop thing that's like, I don't know how to, it's kind of like a tennis racket mixed with a limp, it's like a limp tennis racket with a track, whatever. It's a very weird thing.
I pasted an image into the chat.
Oh, okay, sweet. And we did. Look at that. Paul just cut to one. And so you have these scoops, and what you can do while you're driving this bumper car around, it's like the most first world sport imaginable. You're driving a bumper car around, and then it's like, or it's like polo in the suburbs, I think is what it is. So you can like drive your bumper car, and they actually have custom bumper cars that you can drive with one hand. They have like one weird crank that you drive with one hand, and then you can lean out the side while you're driving around and like scoop up the ball. It's sort of like a wiffle ball, I think. Mm-hmm. You scoop up this wiffle ball, and then it goes into like a sort of receptacle at the kind of right above where you're holding the damn thing, and then you can like fling it, and it sort of goes up this track, and it, there's like a backboard, and it's kind of like basketball. It's the weirdest thing ever. I don't even know if they still exist, but hilarious and super fun when you're like 12. But we were like, what if we rip off the sort of external basket part of it and just focus on the track and the receptacle, so that like you could take one of these grenades and put it into this sort of receptacle-y part and then fling it down the track, and it looks a little like, it looks more brutal. It looks like it could actually be like a weapon, like it's, I don't know, it looks cool, and I think that this is really going in the right direction for like it's like a, a potion flinger. It's kind of like, probably need a cooler name for it than potion flinger. But yeah, like I'm super happy with that direction, and then he can carry one in the offhand, load it, and then fling it, and then rip another one off of his armor, and I think that's going to be like very, very cool. So, do you have anything else to say about weapons? Do you like drawing weapons, Derek?
Yeah, they're super fun.
It's nice, and these are cool too. These like bombs.
Oh yeah, trying to find different shapes for the.
Because I think each flinger will have its own bomb that goes with it, and we can like do a bunch of exploration of demon bombs and stuff like that. It'll be awesome. Yeah. So that's super cool. Our other art thing that we want to share with you is the advisor character. So we talked about I posted a big brainstorming session that we had about the advisor on our blog, and a bunch of people commented about that, and it was awesome. Like, I don't know if you read that thread. Like, a bunch of super crazy ideas came out of there. Totally loved it. It's awesome. Somebody was suggesting the reverse Phoenix character that like gets kind of Benjamin Button over time, and I don't know, goes back into an egg or something. It's super crazy. Lots of really good ideas. But ultimately, we decided that because we have to have a chalice anyway in the game.
Why do we have to have a chalice?
I think that we have to. I've made the official executive decision that we have to have a massive chalice in the game, massive chalice.
Right.
Otherwise, I won't be able to live with myself. So we're gonna take the massive chalice and make that your advisor. And and we're gonna go with kind of like our initial logo design because I think it's awesome as the basis for this. And So there will actually be 2 characters that are your advisor, and they will be like these bickering. It'll be 2 bickering characters that maybe are sick of each other because they've also been together forever. They're like an immortal. It's also an immortal character.
Kind of came from the the Muppets critics, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, always kind of
Statler
there
and
commenting
Waldorf,
on stuff.
those old
Yeah.
dudes are like, they're always heckling stuff and whatever. So like, I hope that they can
tone
just
might
be
not
sort
be
of
like
these
that.
like, right, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, that they're helping you, but they're mainly talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they might talk about you like in the third person, even though you're right there in the room with them.
He does row.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah. Yeah, BioShock Infinite.
Yeah,
Those
they kinda
characters
did that
were
a
very,
little
very cool. So, and we're talking about, should it be like a young person, an old person? Should it be a man and a woman? Do we need? And this was I talked to Tim about this yesterday, and I was like, oh yeah, we might have one voice actor that does 2 voices.
Is it too early to have it be like a Michael Jackson imitator? That would be kind of amazing.
If it's like young Michael Jackson and old weird Michael
Yeah,
Jackson,
exactly.
that's amazing.
That would be
That's
nuts.
amazing.
Too soon?
Yeah, I think that's too soon though. I don't know if we can do that. How does the chat feel about old and young Michael Jackson being your advisor?
Well, a couple things I can't really talk about.
We do have children in this game, so I don't know if we can go down that road.
Jeff said, no. that's the real.
So Derek took a stab at like a bunch of different ideas for like, what if the Chalice is actually your advisor? And actually, I wanted to start over here. These are kind of like new Chalice shapes based on kind of like our more angular art style, and I think these are really rad. Like I think that this one, my least favorites are this guy down here because it still has that sort of rounded chalice-y shape up here, and then this guy just because it's a little. I just got something down my throat. I'm okay. This is like live television. How do people handle this?
Usually, Godfather just.
Usually they don't eat salsa on like a live
camera
show.
too, he's like,
Jay Leno's just like
know.
eating salsa. on
Yeah,
camera. That's
exactly.
usually not how they do that. Okay, great. We're learning all the time about what we should and shouldn't be doing on the air.
Yes, we are.
And also, like the necks have this weird like kind of turkey neck thing down here. The chalice shape is very cool that it's created by that, but the negative shape
a
is like
glider.
a little bit weird. You were thinking that it would be like a collar, right?
Something.
That
They look decapitated or something.
Yeah, and it's like, this one is really rad, I think, this slanted one, because it has almost this like Bride of Frankenstein hair on the woman, which is like really weird and interesting, I think. It's kind of cool, but you can only fill it up to here. I don't know about that. That's only, chalice half empty, I guess. I'm looking at it. I think this one is my favorite, just because it's kind of a weird, interesting shape, and you're also messing around with like a super angular man versus a more curvy woman, which is okay. We need to put more feminism into this one to try to not lean into that one too hard. But it's very cool. I like it. The other big idea that came out of it was like, what if the actual chalice itself, like, is it going to look weird if it animates? Like, what if it was actually just the shadows? So you're like in the throne room, you see the chalice, but then you also see its shadow being cast on the wall, and the shadow animates, and the two faces talk to each other on the wall, but the actual object stays fully intact and not animated at all. It gives it more of a. We were kind of looking and thinking about like more mystical kind of quality to it, where it's almost like an oracle, and it has this kind of weird. Like, well, is it just, is it all in your head when you're looking at it, or is it actually happening? Like, what's going on? It's like a little ambiguous, and it seems like that could be very cool.
I really like that top left drawing. That's awesome.
That's really cool, right?
We can really play with the perspective too, and make that shadow shape really large, and they can also morph and change, and we can do a lot of stuff potentially to make that the emotions of those characters come through with the shadows.
It could also be a very tiny chalice with a very massive shadow is another way that we talked about it going.
Spoilers.
Spoilers, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the big
seriously.
reveal at the end. M. Night Shyamalan comes on screen.
What a
and
twist.
Holding the little tiny chalice and is like, gotcha.
They were aliens.
No. So this is cool. You want to walk me through this one, Derek? Because I'm not sure if everybody can read that.
Sure, yeah. So I was thinking, what if the strategy map is a mosaic that's on the wall of the throne room? And so if there's this thing called the wooden mirror, which is like some artist made these tiles of wood, the way that they cast the shadow, create different tones. And like
That's
when
here.
you walk in front of it, a camera reads all that data and then converts it to
And
the angles. Of
that
the
is
wood.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like there is a really great. It was like a kind of like tech art installation type thing, where there's like a hidden mirror in all these wooden panels, or a hidden camera. I'm sorry, hidden camera. And then based on what it's seeing, it rotates each of these wooden panels to catch either more or less light, and it actually can reproduce like a grayscale image of what it's looking at. It's amazing, and everyone should go look at that. I think if you just search for wooden mirror on YouTube, you'll totally get that.
on YouTube, yeah.
We'll put that in the show notes. Do we have show notes?
Sure.
We should have show notes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was thinking,
But it's super rad. So that was the idea here, is like to
Yeah.
take that concept of a shifting tiled
Yeah.
floor
or
with-
a wall.
or a wall.
Yeah, it could be read
Mosaic.
either way.
So it's
I
like a mosaic, but the,
Yeah.
the tiles can flip or change or
and like
whatever.
even like Andy and I were talking, like what if as corruption comes in, the tiles just fall off the wall, so that over time, like you'd have these pile of like tiles on the floor.
It's-
It also creates an opportunity if the strategic map is within the context of the environment. You can show the passage of time in other ways, like I don't know, moss growing on the wall, or people like coming in and out.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay.
Weather changing outside or whatever.
And then also there was this concept that like, hey, the actual chalice shadow could be projected onto
Right.
this wall.
Yeah.
And that the heroes could be projected there as well. And it's a really interesting idea. Then we had this one over here, which was more literal, just like,
Yeah.
okay, it's a big metal cup. That's what it is.
Boom. In a glade.
In a
And
beautiful
so,
garden.
and the faces are very understated on this one, because we've got big shiny cup, but then we changed the lighting completely, and then these kind of ghostly, ghostly apparitional stuff fills up the head space, and then it would actually start animating and talking.
Yeah. So you put less emphasis on the chalice, and then animating the faces would look less weird when you don't have to like see the geometry moving on the chalice and stuff.
Right, because you're just putting it totally in darkness and silhouette, and then when it animates it, it doesn't look like a big metal robot thing.
Yeah.
'Cause that's I think the biggest worry, is that it could become like a robotic, weird mechanical chalice.
And
that's
we
talking.
looked at the actual chalices, or the actual vases that talk.
Yes.
Like the queen, I forget, it's called the queen's vase or something.
Yeah,
that
there's-
was really cool.
They made one of these chalices, like out of porcelain or whatever, for the Queen of England, right?
Yeah, I think so,
And so it was
yeah.
like her and her husband, or her consort, or what did they say? It was weird. We watched a video about it,
Yeah.
and they made one, and if you spin it, it looks really weird, because the man morphs into the woman, and the woman morphs into the man and back, but it almost looks like they're talking to each other in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's very, very weird and interesting.
Yeah. So, but actually seeing that geometry in the world might be a little weird.
It might be weird, yeah. So these are, this was the next batch of ideas.
Yeah.
So this one, you're gonna have to explain this one, because it's kind of crazy, but it could be really awesome.
So thinking that if the chalice has multiple edges on it, and each edge is a different portrait, and so it could be a solid thing in the world that sort of emanates these like beams of light in each direction, and creates this like really, I don't know how to describe it, like
So every time it turns, you're basically getting like a different person.
But it doesn't
Yeah,
really
it's-
have to turn, does
yeah,
it?
it doesn't
Because
have
they're
to turn.
they're just staggered a little bit. So you can see like here there's one face, and then there's another face here. Are there actually 3 on the right, or just 2?
there's just 2 on the right.
There's 2 on the right
left,
here.
There's one kind of dead on.
Yeah, dead on one. Yeah.
And one idea that I thought was cool is that each one of these faces could actually represent each of the regions in the
Right.
strategic map, and they could like if you lose one of those regions, that face goes away completely.
Yeah.
It is a little complicated, because we'd probably need like 6 distinct voice actors to do it, and like
Yeah.
our VO budget is not going to be super
Yeah.
massive, so it's
It'd
like.
be cool if they were all talking at once, though. In the beginning of the game, and then you lose a bunch, and there's only like a few left, and they talk.
Yeah. That's super cool.
I think that's a beautiful painting. Like I
It
kinda
is.
wanna- I
It
kind of
really-
want a print of that guy.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
That'd go in my bathroom.
This one goes along with the kind of like reforge the massive chalice, like that it's totally busted. And then also another idea that we're toying with is that the chalice will be kind of the magical thing that teleports your heroes to the battlefield. So we have some weird I don't know how to like some weird constraints where it's like one of these battles can appear anywhere, and we want to make sure that only the heroes that are in the capital city can respond to that battle. None of the heroes that are retired.
Yeah,
So
why
we've-
are you the Strike Force, cyber
Yeah.
squad
Yeah,
of
so
this
we've-
fantasy kingdom,
So
right?
we've concocted this like set of rules on the gameplay side that we really need to meet. It's like only the heroes in the capital can respond. Heroes that are retired in the keeps cannot respond. And you can only send a group of 5 of your heroes. You can't send them all. So just kind of going with this like, the chalice is this thing that can only teleport 5 people at a time before it has to recharge. And also the fiction that we're moving in a direction with the enemies. When the demons attack one of the regions, they're only going to be there for like a few hours as they're sowing additional corruption. So it's like this is sort of like you're scrambling a bunch of F-15s and like sending them immediately because you've got to deal with it right away. So that's like everybody's got to be there, like training in the capital, ready to go at a moment's notice. And then the demons attack. Cool, you know where it is. You pick 5 people, and then boom, they're teleported there, and then that's it. Also, they have to walk back, which fits our timeline perfectly, right? It's like super
could be a
awesome.
mechanic. We could have that. That'd be weird.
I don't
Like,
know.
these guys aren't
I don't
gonna be
think we have
around
to
for the next
explain
time.
how they get back. It's totally fine.
They teleport back,
But like this
obviously.
is kind of cool. Like using the throne room as both your advisor, like being able to talk to the chalice, and then also your deployment screen.
Right.
Like, so.
I think down below I did a little revision to the
Oh, there is. Cool.
Yeah.
So this would be like your deployment screen where you're like selecting all of your heroes, and then when you're completed, they're like either they jump into the chalice or they're just teleported by the chalice and they kind of like blink out and go to the battlefield. And I think it could be really cool, especially if we like draw just make the connection that like, oh shit, they're actually standing on the top of the chalice. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's cool. So tell me about this one. Yes, you do. So this was this will be in the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art soon.
Or in
As
front
soon
of
as
the
we
City
model
Hall
it.
or something. Yeah.
It's amazing.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's you got to get all the ideas out sometimes.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
sometimes they're gonna look like a modern art masterpiece. Okay, so this one is very interesting.
Yeah, I was just playing with effects that can make it look more mystical. So like adding smoke or something to the room, and then like changing focus with the camera. So pulled out makes maybe it looks like more like a chalice, and then pulled in.
Zoomed in, it looks more like
Yeah,
just the
that's-
2 heads.
yeah.
Yeah.
There was also like using a waterfall, like having water
Oh,
come
yeah,
down these rocks
yeah.
or something, so
Yeah.
that like the
Like if-
waterfall, like 2 waterfalls actually make.
Yeah, or
the face.
if you imagine the middle light being water, and then the rocks on the side being
Yeah,
rock,
yeah.
so that as the water flows down,
That's-
they can like animate.
That's a much better idea than the one that I just said. Okay, so this one here was thinking that the actual entranceway to the throne room has the faces on it, and then as the sun sets at a particular time or something,
yeah.
like that, the sun glows through these outlines in the throne room, and then it sort of forms the shape of the chalice, and then that's how you like. It's almost like, and that's really cool that it has like a kind of commune with the gods type of feel to it, which I think is really rad.
Yeah, it'd be cool to get that transition into something that's like really grounded in reality, changing to something really abstract, like towards the end where, it's completely. There's a cool contrast there, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, like we've all seen sun peek through, slits like that, or do this kind of effect. But then and all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I have these 2 animated faces.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, that's
Seems
cool.
super rad. So we're gonna keep. I think that this one is still like my favorite. I mean, it's a bit literal, but I think that it gets across a lot of the like major ideas of the fiction in the simplest way possible. Like it's like the least complicated version of all the other ones, and I think that we can refine this guy and create something that is really, really super cool. Like I'm stoked about investigating this one a little bit more.
And we can use some of those techniques you're talking about, like the effects or smoke, and then the changing camera perspectives and depth to highlight things with this kind of a setup.
Yeah.
So that
Cool.
is, I think that, so there's some environment stuff, but that's kind of like work in progress.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll
still-
show that
still going.
next time.
Yeah.
But I think that is about it for art. So we're gonna jump over to design time.
Want to see if we got any questions?
Oh yeah, do you want to
Yeah.
take some questions on the beautiful art that we've shown you?
And
That
thanks
is
for
so
That
good.
was awesome.
So good.
Great
If you have any
explanation.
comments about how good it is, please direct them to Derek.
I saw somebody recently posted on the Kickstarter page, I don't check that as often as I used to, that they were like, I really backed this because of Derek's awesome art, and I really hope that he remains involved in the game. We're like,
Oh,
yes,
Wow.
yes,
Thank you.
he's
I think, well,
very involved.
I think they'll be happy then. That's
I
great.
think so too.
Oh,
And it wasn't your mom.
Oh, that's good.
I don't think.
That's good.
It might have been.
how do you know?
Weird, that'd be weird if she figured out how to use Kickstarter, actually.
Okay. What do we got?
Are the advisors, okay, so Kirby Tales 7 asks, are the advisors' appearance or personalities going to react to how you play the game? That's kind of interesting, like...
I mean, I
based on your
think that they will
playstyle.
comment on it.
Right.
Yes. I don't think they'll be able to stop you though. Like, I don't think that they'll have any influence over you in terms of like making
Sure.
you stop doing whatever horrible thing you're doing
Right.
if that's how you want to do it.
And I don't think we're really going for like a big moralistic, play here. Like you're gonna have to decide if you're gonna be using demon weapons or relics. We'll get to that a bit more later. But we're not gonna be like judging you, I think, for
Right.
using those things. So I don't think they'll be judging you either. But
One
we have-
one idea that I really liked was having them always disagree with each other, so that they'll be like giving you advice, but if you have to choose between A and B, one will make a strong case for A, and the other will make a strong case for B, and you'll just be like, all right, and it's just like maybe not the most helpful thing ever, but I think it'll be like really flavorful and really cool. And I mean, we also want to make sure that all those choices are pretty valid that
Right.
you're making anyway. So like, it kind of makes sense that
Yeah.
like, I mean, we want to present you with those sort of like agonizing choices where you could see it both ways. And if we have, this one character that is actually producing, or actually technically it's two characters, that is sort of producing, defending both sides of the argument, I think it could be really funny. It could be really, really funny, and also just kind of emphasize the fact that you can't make a super wrong choice, I guess. Although maybe you can. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that works out.
So a couple more came in. The Merino Magic asks, Derek, what inspired you for the Setting Sun Chalice? A couple people asked about that.
Oh. I don't know.
Yeah, it was about 6 p.m. and you looked out the window and you're like, huh.
Yeah. No, I think it was because I was painting a bunch of bright lights, and I was like, oh, well, hey, I can use light.
I know
Yeah.
what.
Yeah.
That's a really bright light. That one
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's not
But sometimes, you never know, right? Could have been something like from my childhood or just bright lights. Derek Smiles ____.
Hey, Smiles.
Smiles is back. He's a good guy or girl. What class is the most fun to draw and imagine items for like general look for? What's been your favorite so far?
well, once I could really dial down on the rocket launcher Arbalists, those were really fun to draw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the Cjack is really fun, just because he's like super blocky, and that's always fun to draw. That kind of like big shape stuff.
Right on. Our friend Vidicarus asks us, are we still considering inscribing hero names into the chalice?
Is that David?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yep.
David.
What's up, David? I gotta get back.
Sorry, I just totally interrupted.
I've
you.
all
What did
tabbed
you-
my-
What are you doing?
So are we still considering inscribing hero names into the chalice, or is that idea like off the table, still up in the air?
I like it. It's cool.
It's pretty sweet.
It's like the Stanley Cup. I totally love that idea that every time somebody dies, they like write their name onto the chalice, and they have to keep making it bigger. Like that. I think they have to keep doing that at the Stanley Cup. They have to keep adding rings to it and it's becoming. It's funny because you're supposed to like hold it above your head and skate around the rink when you win.
Maybe it's like matching like.
And like
standard
soon you
human
won't be
size.
able to do that. I think.
Yeah.
Like it'll be so big that you'll just get crushed by it.
It'll be for the whole team to carry at that point.
Yeah.
The
But
last.
yeah, I think that's a really cool idea. I don't know if it really like fits into everything. Like we've talked about just having a really simplistic. What's the thing I'm looking
Memorial.
for? The memorial for the heroes.
Yeah.
Like we'd like
It's
to
gonna
do
come
a
down to
really,
time, I think, on
really
this
like
one.
fancy version of that. But it is a pretty fluffy feature compared to like the core features of the game. We had talked about like a hall of heroes or like doing one of those big murals that's like, chronicles all the heroes that you had, or inscribing them on the chalice and being able to like kind of scroll around on it and see all their names on there and stuff. Like
Sure.
all those are super awesome ideas, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, we think like Rev 1 will probably be simpler than that, and then we can see where we get with it.
Right on. And the other one was the last one was from Naboxo. Maybe just a cool idea. I thought maybe one phase could be like civilized and very like the one could be very barbarian, very kind of crude. But it's like again to your point,
Yeah.
it's like that's awesome. Kind of like those detail things are kind of we'll work on those down the road.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I was thinking it might be funny if, as you select your heroes that go into battle, that they comment on the quirks that those characters have.
That's
Which could be
that's really
pretty
awesome.
hilarious at times.
Yeah.
Especially if they're like they have a lot of stuff.
And also there are all sorts of things that we could key in on for like dialogue, right? Like how
Yeah.
old they are, how
Yeah.
many kills they've had, how many missions they've lived through, like all these things.
When you're making your marriage decisions,
Yeah.
I can see that them trying to play matchmaker.
You don't want that guy. That'd be great. Cool.
But yeah, I think it's gonna end up being super, super cool.
That's about
Okay.
all of them.
We good? Yeah.
I think so.
Sweet. Okay, moving on.
Cool.
Moving on. Thanks, Derek, for
Yeah.
joining us.
Yeah, sure.
If you want some salsa on the way out,
Yeah, I will take some.
just grab a spoon. It's the only spoon we got, though. You can't actually take the
Oh
spoon.
no.
But yeah, sweet. So we're gonna move on to design stuff. So this is something that's been weighing on us, I guess. I don't know. Ever since we talked about the Relic system, and we read the forums. I try to read the forums a lot. I wish I had more time to read like all the forums, but doing my best. And I feel like a lot of threads. We got people that we got a mixture of like positive and negative comments. And sorting through it, it's like there are a lot of people that can see something both ways, and like that's really cool. And I don't know, and everybody's gonna have their own version of like a particular feature. Like, maybe they won't like this one, but they like that one, and it's. I feel like most of the time it kind of evens out, or it's net positive, and I feel like we're doing a good job. But
A lot of it's about us trying to find the right mix to kind of hit our design goals.
Yeah.
And there are a couple things that we want to do with some of the systems that just kind of make fitting some suggested ideas difficult into them.
Yeah.
So that's what it really comes down to. And those things are shifting too. We've already kind of. When we first were talking about this before the Kickstarter even, I think we were thinking about for instance, the nature versus nurture debate. I think we were very high in the nature category.
Yeah,
and then
that's
I think
totally
through the Kickstarter we kind of we're like, oh, we need to swing back towards nurture. And then now I think we're actually kind of coming a little bit back to get a bit more of a balance in this. So I know a lot of this kind of stuff is. It's
Yep.
still open like that, but we're in the point where we're starting to implement features now, and so we want to make sure that we're not creating work that we end up having to redo.
Yep. And so the Relic system, when we announced it and talked about it, it was like, I felt like that one was kind of a net negative. It was like, I thought it was a really elegant system, and it's like, it was really hitting our design goals, and it meshed well with research, and I was like super excited about it. But then we announced it, and it felt like we were really not including something that people were really, really excited about, the initial pitch, which was like just the flavor of taking a weapon like this is a sword, and then when I die I'm handing it down to my daughter, and then she's handing it down to her son, and it's getting more powerful, and it's like this it's this relic, a family heirloom that's whatever.
This is a tuning fork sword.
Yeah,
There are many like it,
right.
but this one
and
is
it's
mine.
like, this is my great grandfather's tuning fork sword, in the 4th generation. It's so awesome. And that was a concept that we really just kind of cut out of the game completely. And we were just like, yeah, maybe we don't need that. We'll go with this other thing. And it was just something that we were like, oh shit, like it seemed like nobody was like super happy with that system. So we went back to the drawing board, and here is our Relic 2.0 design. And I thought we'd like quickly go through this. So the basic idea is, at its core, the weapons in the world are all gonna just kind of like level up. They're all gonna gain XP as your hero gains XP. They'll be able to level up to like many different, many different levels of relicness as they become like more and more fabled
Yes.
In the world. And that is really the core of the system. Is that, and then when a hero dies, he'll be able to hand that to another hero of the same bloodline.
And then kind of going back to our design goals.
Sorry.
Oh!
I'm in the wrong room.
Hey!
You can come in
It's a
if you
wild
want.
Tim Schafer. Yeah, do you want to?
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to come in and say hi.
Yeah?
Hope you guys are doing well.
Have some salsa.
Tim Schafer just stole the beer. Awesome.
That's my contribution to the game.
That comes
Okay,
out
do
of
you
the
want-
Broken
You can
Age
totally have
budget.
that if you want it.
This is
Do you want it?
like this thing.
No, I think you're up in the other room. Do you want some salsa? I made salsa.
Finish this
It's delicious.
And,
Okay, yeah, we have swords.
okay.
Talking about swords. Okay,
Where
back
were
to
we?
this.
So yeah, so like that core idea of levels, weapons leveling up is pretty basic. But really, when it comes down to it, is like how do we implement that and again mesh that with our design goals, and then also figure out how can we build a system where we can balance it so that there's no one true path to weapon progression where you have to always do this throughout the entire game. And so we still have some interesting choices in there when it comes to using relics versus demon weapons, and then also having it not stomp on other systems.
Right, and that's the biggest thing is that what this entails is that human technology is just going to be relics. That's it. And then demon technology will be things that you research or discover or whatever. We're not exactly sure how that will happen, but those systems are completely separate. So you won't be researching new human swords, and you won't be relicifying. You won't be leveling
Passing
up
down,
demon weapons.
inheriting.
So at the base, whoa, that was crazy. So at the base, every class will have access to the base weapon. So John, in this diagram, it's like it's just a sword because that's the most basic kind of thing. But you can extrapolate that and imagine that being a caber or being one of those Alchemist flingers with a potion set. So everyone will have access to this base sword, and it will gain XP throughout a hero's life, and then if he maxes it out, we do have a special case. I guess this part's a bit confusing, but I think it's really worth taking the time to explain it. So all your heroes in the first generation will just have the base weapons.
They'll just have a generic,
just have base generic swords,
caber, Cjack,
or cabers
sword,
or whatever. And then they'll be gaining XP as they get kills and complete missions. They'll be leveling their weapons up, and you'll probably be able to see the progress of that. So if you max it up, if you max it out all the way up to like 600 in this thing, you gain enough XP for that weapon to become a relic, it will just max out. It won't become a relic because we really want to focus in on the fact that it's about death. It's about, and that sounds really dark, but it's about like someone, because you really want a relic weapon to have history, to be like if you are using a relic weapon, you really want it to feel like, oh yeah, the people that use this weapon before me are helping me out, and that's why this thing is amazing and cool, because the guy who initially wielded this when it was a shitty weapon, he was just such a badass. He or she was just such a badass. Totally kicked ass. Had an amazing run. And then when they croaked, that's what actually birthed this awesome relic. And now it's this family heirloom that you can pass down to somebody.
Right, and it wasn't like he just used it for one mission, and then his son used it for a mission, and then his son used it for a mission. It's like the first character turns a generic weapon into a relic needs to have a great run, like you said.
Yeah.
Spending a lot of their life on the battlefield and kicking some butt. This will also help combat the kind of relic explosion. Not everybody that you fight with is going to be able to generate a relic, and so you're going to be making some choices on how you play the game, who you're going to send into battle, what weapons you're going to take, based on if you are going to try to relicify them or not. Yeah.
So this example is so everybody will have access to the base weapon, and that can level up, and that can only max out. But then they might also have one of these one of these relic weapons in their inventory, and you'd be able to switch between these if you wanted to. But these relic weapons will level up as you get kills with them, and then that will actually be fixed, right? So it could almost be to level 3, and then that guy dies, he passes it down. The next guy will just quickly get it up to level 3. They just sort of get on a standard XP track after they've been birthed.
Right, because after it's become a relic, it's like it already has like the house history infused into it, and now you're just kind of beefing it up even further. So one of the core conceits of this, and this is kind of our first stab at this system in terms of like how we're going to implement it and see how it feels, is that we're relegating critical hits to being relic-based hits. So your base weapons wouldn't be able to, they'd have 0% chance to crit and not have any crit damage. The cool thing about this is that then when you have a relic and you do a critical attack, that's when we can do a big flourish with VFX.
Yep.
To have what we call the ghost dad attacks.
We get your ancestors in there, like you feel like you're fighting with them, and it's you know, it's cool because it feels like a very random, like one thing I like about it is that it really contextualizes critical hits. It's like, well, why is this, you know, sometimes in a fantasy game you just randomly get a critical hit because, I don't know, random RNG, and I think it's,
I happen to aim for your heart.
I guess so, yeah.
Your collarbone.
It just feels random, but it's like with this, it's like, you know, 15% of the time, your mother will show up and help you like do an epic swing and actually like hit for a lot more damage. It's awesome. The weapon will also gain a nickname when it becomes a relic that it'll keep through its life, and that might actually get modified as it gets leveled up into its legendary form and its epic form. And a lot of that stuff is just kind of TBD, like how many levels of relics that we need and what actually does to them, how they change over time. I think at the core, like we just have like the critical chance and critical damage increase as the weapon levels up. But you know, also its core stats can change. There's some other things, and then you know we have this TBD over here because we have a lot of different ideas for things that could be added, kind of more loot-like things that could happen to the weapons. But you know, it's not. We're not sure if that's necessary. We're going to implement it in this form first, and then we'll see because there's a lot of you know, getting hosed on the random rolls and whatever, you know, like
none of
this
them are
relic
going to be
might
bad,
not be
but
as good as this other one for that class or whatever.
And
then it also, there's a lot of like comparison type gameplay that it brings that is, I'm not sure if that is like super critical for this game. Like there's, we'll look into it, but there's all sorts of things like just standard stat bonuses, skill bonuses, protecting you from other, you know, types of enemies. There's the hated enemies kind of thing from Dungeons and Dragons where it's like, you know, you killed a lot of like corrosion demons with it, and then it sort of like gains a bonus against corrosion demons. Like that's kind of interesting. Or traits that it infers to the user. And I think Jeff pointed out earlier today that those don't have to be tactical traits. They can actually be strategic traits. I believe.
What's this example?
Yeah, it was like Gwilhor's Sword of Potency, and it's like, you know,
That's
like
kind of awesome though.
increase it so that when the character retires with that sword, they actually have a much higher chance of having children.
It has to be colored blue, kind of light blue.
It's pretty awesome. Like, yeah, Viagra sword. Super awesome. So another critical thing that I want to stress with the system is that when you retire a character, they will take the relics with them. The relics are bound to a character. So that's just like another way that we can make the choice of retiring a hero even more difficult, because not only will you have to go without that character, you have to go without that powerful relic weapon for a while if you want them to like have children and train the children up, which should be pretty cool. And then so these relics are definitely bound to a character. Where am I looking? It's down here.
Inheritance.
And then when that character dies, you'll be presented with this like, hey, you know, who do you want to inherit this relic? And you will choose the next hero for that relic to bind to. It's like kind of like soulbound in like WoW or like a lot of fantasy games. We just really need to kind of drive home the fact that like these are totally bound to like one person's life and like no one else can use them. So this is really, and that's kind of cool. Like I think that really goes along the lines of like this being you know, about your choices, about consequences of your choices, things like that.
And then if that keep gets attacked, if there's a retired hero with a relic,
Yes.
aside, you know, kind of a side benefit from this is that if the retired hero is there, he'll have his awesome relic sword. So it'd
Yep.
be like, Winterfell is under attack, and are we good? And then like Ned Stark
what's
will
happening?
have
Is
his
my-
sword.
Oh, my mic died.
Oh no!
Oh God, my mic died.
We're changing.
My mic died. Sorry.
Most awkward conversation
No, it's
ever.
getting fixed. How are you doing,
gonna
Anthony?
take this
Yeah, I'm
moment.
feeling okay.
You okay?
I'm glad I deodorized.
Okay.
Glad I deodorized.
Sweet, we're good. Okay, we're
Boom.
back. We're back.
That's
back.
2-player doing it fast.
Yeah, that's cool. Like yes, the fact that a hero retires with one of these powerful relics, if that gets attacked, he's gonna just have it, and that's pretty sweet.
And hopefully, I mean, and we'll play with this and see how it feels. If it feels like crap, we'll change it.
Yep.
But like the game's not about tossing weapons back and forth every mission, And also, we really want to encourage you to get multiple relics per family kind of going on a track, so that they're all kind of increasing. And then if we go with the kind of random kind of the loot system for that, and that'll be interesting too. Every relic that you roll will get some extra benefits there. So.
Yep, and it also there's also the cool scenario where there's something bad happens and there's like only one hero left who's the last of the house, and it's actually a baby, and you have to bind your most powerful sword to a baby, and then like you're like, yes, one day when this baby grows up, it will be will wield this sword. Like that's pretty awesome.
I think it's great.
I think there's a lot of cool things that we can do with the system that kind of add to those like emergent stories, So demon weapons. So the way that we're thinking that research and demon weapons fit into this is that demon weapons are these one-off, non-level up. They're not allowed to become relics or get levels or whatever. And when you research them, they'll just be kind of put into your inventory, much like the old. When we talked about the research system, everybody, you research the demon sword. Everybody can use a demon sword. Cool. But you'll have to pick between, there's this opportunity cost that you're losing whenever you use a demon sword, that you're not adding that XP into a relic that will continue the family line and all that stuff. So we want the demonic technology, the demonic weapons, to just be these like powerful but risky weapons that are tempting and you can use to get yourself out of a jam. Or I think that there are some situations that come up, like a very old hero. If you know it's their last mission, you might suit them up with like some dangerous stuff because that's going to be their last mission anyway because they're like 72 and they're probably not making it much longer. There's a lot of like cool choices I think that we can present with you. So this is just like
most
an
basic
idea
example
where it's like, oh, it does 10 damage, which is like it basically always does a critical hit, but it damages you each turn. So if you can bring enough healing or keep your health up in some other way, or you have a lot of health, or wear armor,
Or you
that
put
buffs
this
your
on a
health or
scrub
something.
that you don't,
Right, or you put
that-
it on a guy that you don't really
that's-
care about, and you try to like quickly move through the mission and hope that they get a couple hits in. That cool. Like you can do that, but it definitely feels like you are, kind of embracing some dark, weird magic. in order to
Running
do
with
this.
the devil.
Wow, taking it Van Halen.
And it's cool. Like I really like something. We do talk about XCOM quite a bit on this thing. I think this is the first time we mentioned it today.
Go
I'm proud
us.
of myself.
Breaking away.
But it's like it's definitely required that you use the like alien plasma stuff.
Yeah.
You have to use the alien weapons, and in this, we really want there to feel like there's this track of like leveling up these relics, making them really great. If you're really great about like maintaining your bloodlines and stuff, that will you won't have to actually like give in to the dark side.
The dark side. Dark side could be bad.
Don't mind me.
Okay, hey Greg. Hey. You get no, I don't need that. I've got a wired thing.
You have a
can take
wired
that. Yeah.
keyboard? Okay, bye.
Yeah, get that.
Boom.
Thanks.
Okay, bye. So the demon weapons they'll be at various points throughout the kind of like power curve, and hopefully they'll just give you like either different utility or strange.
Interesting tactical choices too. We've talked about like having an alchemist smoke bomb demon weapon, where every one of his attacks will also create line of sight blockers. So you can use it to kind of cordon off areas so that enemy ranged units can't shoot you, but you'd also have a problem seeing them.
And
so.
sometimes that's an advantage. Sometimes it's a drawback. Depending on the squad and all these other things.
Or like an Arbalist arrow that can pierce through enemies and hit enemies behind them, but also will do friendly fire. So it's it's really powerful, but you have to be really careful with it. If you're not smart tactically, then you're going to shoot your own dudes.
Yep. And we think that these two things can coexist in the same system. So the research is for all your like crazy demon things. Just on the weapon side, we'll still be using research for armor upgrades for different items, and then also kind of generic upgrades for either all your heroes or new recruits or whatever, strategy layer stuff. So yeah, I think that's where we're at with relics, and we will totally take questions from the thing.
Also, just
Oh, yeah, do
I
you wanna
like
talk about this
any
part?
spec I can throw some Street Fighter Alpha 3 and some Symphony of the Night into.
Yep,
But
just having these cool trails, like that's a good way that we can get the kind of Ghost Dad thing in there. But in talking with the artists, it sounds like they've got some much grander ideas for how Ghost Dad attacks will work. So
It's gonna be exciting
yeah,
when
they
we
won't
get to
just
that.
be probably copying the actions that your hero's doing. They'll be doing their own actions to help out, much more like tag team attacks in like a Marvel Capcom thing. They'll actually be kind of appearing and like damaging the enemy, and that's actually like this is much more of a like kind of they're just like adding their power to you and then you do the attack. Whereas I think the way it's really going to work out is like the ghosts kind of coming out of the weapon and then getting on the tactical battlefield and doing attacks and however it
We'll
works
see.
out.
We gotta
We'll
see
see
how
how
that'll work.
we'll see how they do it. But
I mean, you did like the whole idea of the Alchemist alley-oop.
Alchemist alley-oop, yeah, where you chuck you like fling the bomb and then the ancestor comes out of the like grenade and he grabs
That
it
would be
and
so
like
awesome.
dunks it on the
Yeah.
enemy. Awesome.
So here's a couple
Slam
of good
jam.
questions coming in already.
right.
One starts out that came back earlier when we were talking about, and I think this is great. We often joke with this scenario, but it's a really actually great way to change up your gameplay. Someone is old, you got to send somebody in. It's their last hoorah type thing. But the opposite thing we talked about was the baby. Like the baby's given a sword. What do you do? And John, I think actually with the older situation, you said like you can give a powerful sword to a scrub, or give a cheap one to a scrub, whatever your gameplay is. So Zigunder Slash, which is a great name. This is something we've talked about a lot. To that point, will there be plenty of scrubs in this game? And he says, my XCOM runs are typically founded on feeding a series of scrubs to the aliens. And I know you've talked about that in your own playstyle, Brad.
Original XCOM for sure.
No, I mean not in your playstyle, but just like as an issue you've come across, but good and bad in XCOM.
Brad feeds scrubs
Brad-
with grenades.
Yeah, just
with grenades
feeding
and
scrubs.
shotguns,
Yep.
baby.
That's how we do it. Yeah, if I could
So-
make them all assaults in the new XCOM, probably do it.
I mean, we're talking about a base squad size of 5, so we're not going to go original XCOM, up to 18 or whatever. So that will limit it somewhat, but we're still have to see how it pans out in terms of hero creation, birth rates, and whatnot. You're going to be able to, promote backers who are scrubs, but you might be able to upgrade that entire system throughout, so that at the end of the game, if you get if you promote a backer, they're not necessarily level 0, and I think that'll help. But I don't know. We have to see. Like, and that's the thing about the with the relics as well. Like, you're going to have guys. You will have characters that will be high level that might not have a high powered relic equipped, and that will be okay because they're still going to be able to do a lot of damage, have a ton of skills.
Right.
And then you'll have a low level guy that starts out with a high level relic, and he might be able to do awesome crits, but he's not going to be able to do a level 5 skill.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, you're going to have, we're looking at doing this kind of, we call it like sawtooth thing in terms of the levels of your characters. And so still throughout the game, you should feel a general power increase of your characters to match the difficulty of the enemies, the amount of enemies you're going to be fighting. And so all this stuff has to kind of play into that.
Awesome. Solar Blitz asked a couple questions.
Hey, Solar Blitz!
Solar Blitz.
Thanks for joining us again.
He's always, really has some good questions, and a couple too that are related I like here are if relics can be bound to infants, in the situation you talk about this emergent gameplay, does that mean a predestined fate is tied to these children? And how and does this relate to the Massive Chalice? Is there a metaphysical relationship between relics and the Massive Chalice?
The power is yours.
I think that
That's all I would say.
the whole concept of these relics being part of the bloodlines and all this stuff is definitely the part of the bloodline magic that's brought by the chalice itself. And because we don't really want there to be relics before the game starts.
Right.
So this will be. Oh, I think we have to restart. I think we'll be right back.
Be right back.